Hi everyone. Did you know that you can create your own cutting or drawing file in Canvas Workspace, and if you do machine embroidery as well, you can turn that design or any design you create in Canvas Workspace into a stitch file that you can then use with your embroidery machine. If that's something you're interested in or you didn't even know about, then keep watching. So basically on the screen here I've got two designs. The design on the left, the blue design, is a cutting file that I created many years ago. I don't know if I did it on a YouTube live or if I did it as just an upload YouTube video, and then over the years I've recreated it. So I know there are at least two videos on my YouTube channel showing how to make something like this. And basically this design that you can see here on the left, this bow design, this was a border design that was one of the installed designs in Canvas Workspace. But in the previous videos I showed you how you can put it up and make it into something different. So in this case, a round design. So to save some time, I will link to the previous video at the end of this video. On the right, you can see here that this is a stitch file. I created this stitch file from this original cut file that I made in Canvas Workspace, and I created this using Embroidery's Stitch Artist Level 2. Now you need Level 2 because Level 2 allows you to import a vector file and a cutting file that you make for your cutting machines, you know, be it in this instance the ScanNCut or for a silhouette or anything like that. They are vector files. So I'm going to show you how I turned a Canvas Workspace cutting file that I designed in Canvas Workspace into a stitch file. So I'm just going to close this one down, and I've got Embroidery's Stitch Artist Level 2 opened here, and I'm going to go to the create icon, which is this icon that looks like an arc with stitches on it, and when you hover over it, it says create design. So I'm going to select that. When you open that, it will open up these other options. Now, if you've only got Stitch Artist Level 1, you will see the image and the true type font icon, but you won't see the vector. And that's why I'm saying for this particular project I'm showing you today, you need Level 2. But this is brilliant because if you're already used to using Canvas Workspace and you also do machine embroidery, you can now create in a program that you're familiar with, open up those designs in Embroidery's Stitch Artist Level 2 and turn them into machine embroidery projects. And these are not just like applique projects. So this isn't, you know, getting an applique file that you've bought somewhere and you open it up in Embroidery's Essentials and you know, create a cut file. This is actually designing in Canvas Workspace and then creating something completely different from what you've made there. So I'm going to come up to the vector icon. That's going to open up a dialog box, and I'm just going to navigate to where I've saved my FCM cut file, which is actually on my desktop. So I'm going to select it and choose open. You'll now see this is the design that I made in ScanNCut Canvas, and over on the right hand side here it says shapes from borders, because that was what the original video was called where I made this design, but it says .fcm, so that's a ScanNCut file. And then underneath you'll see it just says line. So this isn't stitches at the moment. This is basically just a replica, if you like, in line form with editable nodes from Canvas Workspace, from a cut file. Now you will have to clean your designs up, but for the time it would take to clean your design up, you will have created two individual designs one of which you could cut with your ScanNCut machine, either in cardstock or in, vinyl or heat transfer vinyl, and the other, by doing it this way, will be a stitch file. So I'm going to zoom in a little. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start at the top of the design and I'm going to work my way round clockwise. I'm just going to use the tab bar and pan this down again. And as you can see all the nodes. Now, the fewer nodes in your design, the better. But that basically is the same principle with a cut file. The fewer nodes your cutting file has, the better your design will come out. So straight away, I can see there are two nodes here that are kind of like more or less on top of each other at a slight angle, and they don't need to be there. There's also a node here at this end and this end, and then you've got the ones in the corners of the bow. So I'm going to, without touching anything else on my keyboard, I'm going to left click on my mouse and drag a lasso around those two nodes and let go. That now has selected those two nodes. They turn blue. Not sure how well you'll see it on the screen, and maybe I'll try and zoom in a bit more in a minute. But they're blue now. Now, all you need to do now is hit the delete key on your keyboard and those nodes have disappeared. Then I'm going to come to the line underneath and I can see again that there are nodes here making this line, a bit out of shape. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to left click, drag the lasso around just those nodes there and hit delete. Now that's broken them apart because one of them was, I think, an open node. So I'm going to undo, left click again, and I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to use the space bar and do that pan. And you can see here one of them is red. So I just want these two circular nodes here. So I'm going to just try and grab just those two. They've turned blue and I'm going to hit delete. And you can see now the line's straightened up a bit better. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit more and see what's going on here. So you can see that those two nodes are not joined. I'm going to see if by using this icon up here, the close open outline, if it will join them up, and it has done. So now I'm going to select these stray nodes again now, lasso them and delete them. And that's straightened out that line now. I'm going to select that one and see if I can delete it. Yep, so now I've been able to delete it because I closed the line up here. Okay. So that's the first bow. So I'm going to press the space bar and I'm going to come round to the next one. And I'm going to do the same. You can see there are a group of nodes here that I don't need. I'm going to just left click and drag, select all those nodes and hit delete. Then I'm going to come to the outside line. And again, you can see there are nodes here. Zoom back out so you can see it better. Straight away now you can see that these two lines are a lot smoother. And I'm going to work my way round and do the same. So I'll probably fast forward up this bit, then I'll come back and I'll show you how to make this into a file that we can stitch on our embroidery machine. What you can also do if you want, you can try deleting one of these nodes here. So if you select it and hit delete, and then what you can do is you can drag this other node along, and that's got handles on both sides, so you can shape it if you want to, like so, to just get rid of some of the extra nodes. As I say, the less nodes in your design, the better. So I'm just going to keep going. Okay, so I think that looks a lot better. Obviously what you can do, you can spend more time, and tidy it up a bit more, but for the sake of the video, that will do for now. So from here now, you want to turn it into stitches. Now I can see when I click on this inside here, I'm getting a bounding box around this inside. And if I click on the top of the bow, I'm getting a bounding box around the outside. Now there's two ways you can do this. You can do it while you're in Canvas Workspace. Make sure the inner part of the design is on the top. Select both and subtract before you bring the vector file in. Or while you are in Stitch Artist Level 2, go back to the arrow icon at the top, select everything. You can see on the right hand side I've got both the inner and the outer. Come back to create mode and go to create right at the top of your screen. Scroll to outline, and then in the box that opens, do combine holes. Now straight away over on the right hand side you'll see here now that there's only one design, and now I can fill this design with a colour. I'm going to undo that to get back to 2 to show you how it'll look if you don't do that. So I'm going to choose a fill stitch, and look, it looks a mess. I'm going to come over to the colour tab on the right hand side, select the colour swatch, go to threads, and I'm just going to choose a very pale pink in the hope that you'll see it better. So you'll see that that doesn't look like the design we started with. So like I said, you can either subtract it in Canvas Workspace before you bring the design in, but if you've already brought your design in, this is how you can fix it. So you need to make sure you've got everything selected. So again, you can either go back to the arrow icon, which is kind of like in Embroidery Essentials, or you can select both here. So if I hold the Shift key down, I've now got both of these, the line and the fill, selected. Come back up to create right at the top of your computer screen, choose outline, and then come down and combine holes. You might have to wait for it depending on how quick your computer can process the design. And there you go. So if I now click off this, you'll see I've now turned what was a cutting file that I created from a border originally in Canvas Workspace, chopped that border up and made it into a circular border. That was years ago I did that project, and now I've turn this into a stitch file. So if we go to the top of the Embrilliance page and click on Stitch Simulator and drag the slider along, you can see that this is now going to stitch out. If we go back to the create mode with it selected, in the bottom right hand window you can see we've got fill selected. You can change the density, you can add a travel edge, you could even copy and paste this and put a very thin satin border edge around it if you want to. This design has gone to the default, which is tatami, but you can choose any of the other designs from within here. So let's have a look at Diamond 1, and it's now changed. I'm not sure how well you'll see it. You'll have to try this yourself, but it's changed the fill design to this Diamond 1. I'm going to put it back to tatami for now and wait for my computer to process. You can add a travel edge on it if you want. So by clicking travel edge, it will add this stitch going all around the edge. I don't know if we'll be able to see that in the Stitch Simulator, but we can go back to the Stitch Simulator. It's all the same colour, but we can just keep going round and round and round and round, pulling the Stitch Simulator along, wait for it to fill in all those bows. And if I zoom in, I'm not sure if you'll see, but this is the travel edge. So I'm going to zoom back out. I'm going to go back to create, select the design, turn off travel edge. With this selected, I'm going to go up to the top of the screen and do edit, copy and paste. That's now given me 2 of this design. If I click on one, is the bottom one, and the one that's selected is the one on top. So if I click on the colour swatch, click on the pink, if I just change that to a darker pink for now, say OK, I think now be able to turn this top design into a satin border, and that's this icon here. So if I select that, you can see it's now put a satin border, but I'm going to come over to the right to where it says satin border. The width is far too thick. I'm going to make the width about 1 or 1.5. Let's see. They go 1.4. Let's see if we can make it. So it's now 1.2. So now if I go to the simulator, let me just reorder these designs. So I'm going to bring the dark pink below because I want it to do the light pink first. Okay, so I'm going to start the stitch simulator. It's going to stitch out pale pink, and then it's going to do that border around the outside. So look at how easy that was, all from design that was made originally. Okay, sorry about that. It's very windy here at the moment and the dog heard a noise. So that shows you that it's done the fill and then it's added a border if that's how you want it to be. Obviously you can play around with the settings and the stitch settings and all that kind of thing. But from here, let's say we want to go and add some words or a monogram or something like that. I've selected the A icon, which I think now is an Embroidery Essentials feature. I've got loaded up here Essentials, Stitch Artist level 1 and 2 basically. So I've clicked on the ABC and then let's scroll down and see if there's a monogram. There you go, there's a monogram design. So from here now, I'm just going to leave it as ABC. But you could then add some letters and make that a monogram and stitch that out. So that's all from something that started off in Canvas Workspace as a cut border design that I turned into a circular border years ago, and now using that old cut file I've been able to bring it into the Embroidery platform, if you like, and using Stitch Artist level 2 I've been able to change that cut file into a machine embroidery stitch file and then add letters to create a monogram. So have a play with it and see what you think. I'm still learning. You know, as you all know, I've got Embroidery Essentials. I've done lots of videos on my channel in the past. But I am going to buy, I think, at least Stitch Artist level 2. You'll be able to use the vector function under the create icon, and anything at all that you create in Canvas Workspace, you'll be able to open up in this module and turn it into a stitch file. Anyway, that was today's video. I hope it's helpful. Please give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to like and share if you can do, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.